Wow, so yeah, the parliamentary election took place last Saturday. Now, I was going to film this video earlier, but because they had to do recounts in 2 of the constituencies of the votes, I decided to wait a little bit with filming because I didn't want to film a video and then shortly after, like, the information or whatever would be inaccurate. But looks like all recounts have been done, so boy, wow, so it's a hailstorm of emotion that came over me when I fully realized what the results were. Now, I'm guessing if you're into this sort of stuff, you already know how the election ended, and obviously if you live in Iceland, you definitely know. So this is more going to be just me, like, giving my personal takes on what's going to happen after the elections, so what kind of government we're going to be seeing, and also just my personal feelings towards the winners and losers. And spoiler alert, that there is an excellent chance that this is going to be the best election that I'm ever going to experience in my life. I say that because not only the parties that I have a high liking for perform very well, but also some that I have a very low liking for perform very poorly. So basically, yeah, it's like, it's wonderful. Now, you may also recall that I did a prediction in April on how I thought the election was going to go. This is how that prediction looked like, and it's going to be very fun and interesting to see just how correct or incorrect that I've been on this matter. So there were 252,000 people eligible to vote, and the voter turnout was 80.1%, down 1% from the last election in 2017. I'm gonna talk about each individual party from smallest to largest. So the minor parties that I never even mentioned in in the previous videos, like for example komu, who you may remember as that guy who made a very pathetic attempt of becoming Iceland's next president. Now, he created his own political party and got absolutely eviscerated. His party, the Liberal Democratic Party, whatever, also got thoroughly crushed. Now I think they got around 700 to 800 votes in the whole country total, so yeah. Okay, then of course, Socialist of Law, the Socialist Party of Iceland. Now, I was actually very accurate in my prediction here because they failed to get a single one of their members elected to the parliament. And that is the first fact of this election that makes me really happy. So the left Greens still reign supreme as the, big dog left-wing party on the block. And yeah, the Socialist Party is not a factor. Now, to be fair, they still have 1 member elected in the Reykjavik City Council, so, they got that going for them. Okay, and then there is Miðflokkurinn. I predicted that they would be in the ballpark of around 7% total vote count, and that they would gain about 5 MPs. But alas, no, they lost quite a bit more than that. They ended up having only 3 MPs and just barely over 5%. So, Also, this is another party that I kind of dislike, so this is another election victory for me because I absolutely love it. Now, according to early polls, like early on in the night when they were still counting, it looked as if Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson might be the only Center Party MP to make it into the parliament. I don't know why, but I think that fact would have been even funnier than if they had been completely wiped out. Just the thought of him being there all alone, just... Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, I amuse myself. Anyway, both Píratar and Viðreisn ended up performing slightly better than I predicted that they would. So they both got almost the same amount of MP seats and percentages. They're like, I don't know, what was like 8.4, 8.8, something in that ballpark of percentage-wise, and they both gained, both ended up having 6 MPs, versus I had predicted that they would get 5 MP seats. So fairly close, but yeah, they came out a bit stronger than I anticipated. One thing, very interesting thing about the Pirates is that all of their MPs came from the 3 capital city region constituencies. They didn't get anyone elected anywhere out in the countryside constituencies. But yeah, now let's talk about one of the big winners, like the absolute dark horse of this election. I am of course talking about flokkur fólksins. But yeah, according to most polls, they were most likely just going to get wiped out and not make it back into parliament, and it would have been sad to see them go, because I have a very high respect for the People's Party. 8.8%, and they got 6 MPs. Oof! It's like, no, like I don't think even they themselves expected such a good result. That is just, wow. I mean, I was astounded. Absolutely astounded. Jæja, takið af ykkur skóna.
Við erum komin til að sjá og sigra, Sigurjón til það. Við erum komin til að sjá og sigra, Sigurjón til það.
Okay, now for what was probably my least accurate prediction. I predicted that the Social Democratic Alliance, Samfylkingin, would become Iceland's second largest party. I predicted that they would get over 15%, so maybe 16%, and yeah, I predicted that they would get at least 11 MPs, but that is not quite what happened. No, they ended up with getting only 9.9% of the total. Like they're coming out of opposition and they lose seats. Yeah, what was it? 6 MPs? No, 7. I think they. No, they also have 6 MPs. So what? We have 4 parties in the parliament that all have 6 MPs. So that's interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't quite fathom just why the Social Democrats just fared this poorly. I think it was, though, in large part just to the incredibly uninspiring campaign that they ran. And, you know, I just don't think it's really moved a lot of people. I mean, the party leader, Logi Einarsson, I swear to God, if I got that name incorrectly for the 500th time, I will shoot myself. But yeah, I think Logi talked a big game in all the debates. I think they performed pretty well, and made a lot of grandiose promises. To move the whole the Overton window further to the left, and then start a new green revolution and stuff like that. But then when it came to their actual campaign slogans and ads, they were just so ponderous and lackluster and Alright, so left Greens. Now obviously the party of Katrin Jakobsdóttir was in a bit of a tough spot right now. I mean regardless on how you successful or unsuccessful or whatever you view the government, obviously it was always a big risk for the largest established left-wing party, a socialist party, mind you, to form a coalition government with a free market capitalist conservative party. So a lot of polls suggested that they would get absolutely crushed in this election. Not completely trashed, but nobody really I think predicted that they would go much below 10% of the total vote. But yeah, I predicted that they would get, they were definitely going to lose some, that they were going to go down to maybe 12-13% of the vote. Should be noted that the last election in 2017, when they gained, I think, 16.9% of the total vote, I think, and 11 MPs, that was their best showing since 2009, and their best showing, second best showing overall in their history. So it was always going to be a very hard thing to replicate, but alas, they ended up getting, around 12% of the vote, and I think they got 9 MPs. Yeah, so I predicted that they would get 9 MPs, but it ended up getting 8. But keep in mind that during the course of the government, they lost 2 of their MPs, so they actually ended up only losing 1, you know, comparative to where they were this summer. So their loss wasn't that big. I would say that they, you know, weathered the storm quite nicely, all things considered. So yeah, they sort of they weathered the storm, and the Socialist Party did not get members elected to Parliament. So again, another reason why I absolutely love these election results. Now, if you watched my videos long enough, you of course know that my biggest bias is towards the Progressive Party, and when I made this prediction in April, I expected the Progressive Party would just sort of stand in place and probably gain 1 MP seat, but not much more than that. Now, the reason why I predicted this was because I expected the Social Democrats to perform so much. Basically, I predicted that, yes, that the Progressive Party would gain a lot of supporters, but they would also lose a lot of supporters, and other parties would also lose a lot of supporters to the Social Democrats, so it would kind of even itself out. But as I just told you, the Social Democrats underperformed, and the unquestionable winner of the election, in the sense of how much gain they made, was, you guessed it, Framsó. We went from 10.7% of the total vote in 2017, now up to 17.6, I think, and we gained 5 more MPs. So yeah, yet another reason why I think this is one of the greatest elections ever. And I gotta say, now, like I said, I really like that the Social Democrats, that the Socialists didn't get any members elected. I really like that the People's Party, that they gained so much. Obviously I love it that Framsóknarflokkurinn gained so much. But when it comes to the Social Democrats, Pirates and Viðreisn, I feel kinda indifferent toward, like, I don't want any of these parties to become huge, but like, I don't celebrate it either when they make massive losses. To me, like, I'm very indifferent, but yeah, obviously the Progressive Party making such a massive gain, that is just, obviously, you know, I went downtown to election party where we were looking at all the results come in, and like, the atmosphere was just absolutely electric. I've never experienced anything like this before. It was just like, wherever you go, like, somebody was high-fiving you, hugging you. It's like this flurry of emotion. It was like, it was so great. So, and yeah, just absolutely loved it. Had a wonderful evening there. Now, and then of course there's only one party left. That is obviously Sjálvstæðisflokkurinn, Iceland's Conservative Party. Now, all the polls indicated that they were going to severely underperform and maybe go down to, they had 16 MPs previously, which is the worst showing that they've ever had in their history. Oh, there was one other point where they also had 16 MPs, but yeah, in the last election they got 25.3% of the total vote and 16 MPs. And they did lose some vote count now, though. I think their total vote count now went down to 24 point something percent, but they were able to keep all of their MPs. Well, you know, the same number of MPs, that is. So I actually predicted that they would gain some. I predicted that they would get at least 18, if not 19 MPs in total. So I was a bit off there. Like I said, I just so greatly underestimated just how much gains my own party would make. So yeah, so the Independence Party is still the largest party in the parliament, obviously, but now only has 3 MPs more than the Progressive Party. But the really big news to take from all of this is, actually, so the majority of the government actually got larger. I think it was like 34 MPs right before the election. I think it had originally, I think it was originally 35, but yeah, then the Left Greens lost 2 members, so it went down to 33 out of 63, by the way, and now the majority is up. Now that I think the majority stands in 37. So wrap your head around this. There is a chance that we're gonna have more than one term of Katrín Jakobsdóttir being Prime Minister in a coalition government with the Conservatives. No, seriously, wrap your fucking heads around that. In 2017, everyone said this government is gonna collapse probably within a year, and or at least there's no way they're gonna last a full 4-year term. And I actually agreed with the latter part. I didn't think it was likely that it would last an entire 4-year term. But like everyone else, I could not have foreseen the COVID pandemic, so there's a chance, if that had never happened, that the government would have collapsed over some disagreement with something, but COVID pretty much occupied so much of the government's time in the last 18 months that, you know, there was just no room for government failure in that time, so yeah. However, yeah, but imagine telling people in 2017 that no, not only is this government going to last a full term, it might last into a second term. That is just amazing. Katrín Jakobsdóttir approval rating has dropped somewhat. It was during the summer, her approval rating stood at around a whopping 67%. But now I think it's down to like 55, 53%, something like that, which is still fine, but you know, not as much as it used to be. And right before the election, according to polls, 47% of Icelanders thought that she would be the best choice for Prime Minister after the election, and which is actually 2% less than after the election before that, but still, almost half of Icelanders still want to keep Katrín in power as Prime Minister. Now, that does not necessarily mean that the government is going to continue, because after such a long time, obviously, all the disagreements between the Left Greens and the Independence Party have been sort of put on hold, but I think we all know they can boil over at any given time, so fair to assume that it's not going to be the same government again. Well, what could happen then? Now, the possibility of a left-wing government is, in my opinion, pretty slim. That would then be a coalition government of the Progressive Party and the Left Green, and most likely also Samfylkingin and Viðreisn or Pirates, or even if it's like, let's assume it's going to be a 4-party coalition, which is already a risky move. I mean, having a 3-party coalition was considered to be quite risky even before. Yeah, Katrín's government is also the first 3-party coalition government that lasts an entire term, which is quite astounding. But yeah, 4-party left-wing coalition would be quite risky, and it doesn't matter which one of these, like of the smallest party you pick as the 4th member, they would only have a 1 MP majority in the parliament, which is also a very risky move. So I think that a left-wing coalition is pretty unlikely. What is more unlikely is that the Progressive Party and the Conservatives form a coalition government with someone else than the Left Greens. Now, probably not going to be the Social Democrats, but I think, you know, they have, what, 29 MPs in between themselves, so they would only need, say, Viðreisn. I think Viðreisn would be the most likely candidate, maybe the People's Party, and yeah, and then they would have a majority of, I think, 35 MPs, which would be a respectable majority. So, I don't know which option I think is more likely. Is it going to be the same government again? Is it going to be the Progressive Party, Independence Party, and the People's Party / Viðreisn? I think both of these options are equally likely, but we're just going to have to see. And knowing my luck, I bet that as soon as I start editing the video, the news will come out and we'll know for certain who's going to be covering, who's going to be in the next coalition. So yeah. Anyway, Oh yeah, and here you can see the exact election results with my, and in this graph you'll also see I've marked in, you know, what my predictions were, so you can see how correct or incorrect I was on these matters. Like I said, I am extremely satisfied. Like, you know, I was wrong in all the most wonderful ways and I was correct in all the most wonderful ways. This was just, yeah. I also find it quite curious that the first video, I made the first videos on this channel in the fall of 2017, so around the election season, but of course I made the first few videos in Icelandic. Then shortly after the government was formed, I decided to make the first video in English, and I then decided to just, you know, fuck it, let's just keep it in English for now, you know. It's a bit too niche to do it all in Icelandic. And the first English video that I made was when I was explaining, you know, Katrin's government had just been formed. I'm gonna put that video in the link below, in the description, and check it out. Please check it out. I mean, you don't need to watch the whole thing. Just watch about a minute of it or two, and yeah, just tell me how far. Just you know, tell me how far I've gotten since then in just, you know, video making skills, and I think probably also just confidence in, you know, being in front of the camera and just letting loose. So it's probably going to be quite interesting to watch now. But I'm Johan Bjarnason. I hope you like this video, and please share it and subscribe. Oh, talk about subscriptions. So very recently my subscription count went over 400, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you for, you know, subscribing and sharing my videos and liking them and all that. It means a lot to me, and I never really imagined like how many subscribers I should expect, like or whatever, you know. But I think a year ago I had around 200. So they have doubled now in a single year, and I think that it's awesome. And every time I log on, there's a few new subscribers there, so they must be doing something correctly. But yeah, I want to thank you all for, yeah, watching my videos and sharing them and all that. It's been really great, and to me it indicates that I must be doing at least something right. Have a nice day.